Okay, let's practice with our multi-level lists. And I'm actually going to use the example that I've given you. This is something that I did when I was taking iPhone development. I was doing an app to track blood sugar and calculate how much insulin you needed and stuff like that. And so you would typically, let's say for an example, that you would have check your blood sugar 4 times a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, bedtime. So we're going to have a very long list in our app because for every day we're going to have 4 blood sugar levels. So that's the concept behind this. And let's see how it actually works. So when planning, I like to think about what I want to do. Create the lists. Get input from user. Calculate average for each day. That's probably going a little bit beyond, but let me take a look at my reference. Okay, so we're going to need to start with some variables. Because I want to get the total each day and the average blood sugar each day. I really don't need the total. I'm not going to print that out, but I need it to calculate the average. Or I could just sum the list, which might be the easier way to do that. So we're going to have to, there's multiple ways to approach this. The sample I gave you gives you a total equals 0, and then I calculate the average equals 0, and that's just making these exist. I have them set to be 0 so that I can work with them. Then that way, if it's 0, I can add to it. Then I'm going to have a list called times of day. And this is good naming. And I'm actually creating this list inside the variables, which is fine. We'll just put it underneath. The list is technically a variable, and these are the times that we're going to have for it. And since it's a list, we start with our square bracket. So we'll have breakfast, lunch, dinner, depending what part of the world you are from, or the US. That could be supper. And then bedtime. And these are typical times that you would check and you do it before lunch, before dinner, before breakfast, and then at bedtime. Though if you were checking your blood sugar 4 times a day, that would be a typical way to do that. Then I'm going to create an empty list. And you just do that with the square brackets. Then we're going to do a for loop to get these. So we're going to do for time, which is a local variable. We are using it inside the for loop only, in times of day. We're going to step through that and get a value for each one. Sugar level, I just used level, but that's not as clear, equals, now I did not convert this here, and I should have in this sample that I gave you. It's just simpler if you do, and I would do it as a float. Well, this actually will come in as a whole number. You don't get more precise. All blood sugar comes in as whole number, so we're going to be accurate. And then we're going to have to do int input, and then we have to give them a meaningful prompt. I'm going to use my F string. And now this is letting me pull from that list. And so that should let me loop through that 4 times. And this is a good time to test these. So I would actually, to show you this nested, I would actually want to sort it by day and by meal. So I've got my blood sugar levels. And then I'm going to append that So I'm going to append the sugar level. And I'm actually going to append that with time, comma, sugar level. And this is what's making it a multi-level list. I was thinking past this to see if I wanted to do it for multiple days. So in helping you to understand this, I think this is a really good place to use. And so I will use print statements to test things. So when I'm done with my for statement, I'm going to print blood sugar levels. But I think this would be a meaningful place for you to actually watch it work. So I'm going to put in my breakpoint and I'm going to run and debug. Python debugger. And I'm just going to keep stepping. So I've got a total of 0. I've got an average of 0. I have times of day created. I have blood sugar levels created and they're empty. For time in, time of day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Okay, so let's enter your breakfast blood sugar. Let's say it was 113. And then we need to keep stepping. Time is now set to lunch. And it's asking me to enter my lunch blood sugar level. We'll say that it got down to 98. And so we can look over here. Blood sugar levels, we've got breakfast in 113. We're going to be adding lunch and 98 onto this. So I'm going to step into it. There we go. So now I've got dinner, and I'm going to ask dinner level 103. If you're wondering, these are pretty good blood sugars for a diabetic. Non-diabetics, they should be in the 80s. And then we're going to get our bedtime blood sugar. And I often like that to be just a little high so that overnight, yes, I'm diabetic, overnight it doesn't go low. And so this shows you that I have created this multi-level list with times and numbers. And since I don't have everything in here where I can just easily sum it, we can start stepping through and using this multi-level list that we created. So I've got for I in range 4. Now, this is what I used in the sample. I don't actually think this is the best way to do it. I think we should really do LEN of blood sugar levels, which is 4. But if we change this to go to multi-days or something like that, it's better to have you calculating it on the length of the list. But it is 4, so that's why you see it in the sample on the page. We're going to have time equal blood sugar levels. And then we have to put in the index, I and 0. So this would be 0, 0 because the first time through it's I and 0. Then we're going to have level equals blood sugar levels. And this time it's going to be I and 1. Now, if you remember, our nested list is only 2 items long. It's time and blood sugar level. So that uses both of those. So we're going to want total to be plus equals. It means it's equal to itself plus something. And since I converted it to an int here, I don't need to do it. I did it reverse on the sample. So I don't need to change it. Because I brought it in as an int. So I just need to add it to the total. So that's going to be incrementing total. And then average is going to equal total divided by 4. And then we need to give them our printout. And we want to do it in the loop so we can see each one. We're using our F string to make it clearer. I don't have to do any special formatting here because there was no calculations. It's just going to be an integer. So I typically do my planning in my comments, and then I drop that there because that shouldn't be happening in the for statement. And at the end I would print out okay, and that should give me my printout. So let's just run it this time. So this is just some practice of accessing them. I spit them all out, and then I give them my average blood sugar today. This was mostly for practice, spitting them back out. So let's look at the assignment. We've given you a good example of how to get started. You should go through those self-check quizzes. So you're going to create a program to check your heart rate at different times. And so you're really doing it almost exactly the same as we have with the blood sugar. So it should not take you very hard. It should not be very hard because you've got pretty much a working example here, except you're going to be doing heart rate, because this is a relatively complex one. You get a really close example. So you should be easily able to translate this from blood sugar into heart rate and give them different names and values. So that should be something fairly straightforward.